In this episode, we take a look at the three promoted teams and the fixtures and how they're going to really pan out during the season. I'm joined by Dan again. Dan, three promoted sides. Which side are you really excited about?
Nottingham Forest, it has to be.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people wanted them to be promoted just for the vibes. It's been a long time since they've been in the Premier League. They have a lot of history. So I'm really excited to see them back.
Let's get straight into it in terms of looking at the fixtures. We'll start with Bournemouth. This is the team which finished 18th, which means they got relegated in the 19-20 season, which is 2 seasons back, who is managed now by Scott Parker, ex-Fulham manager. So best fixture period, not too many, but yes, it's a good stretch of 8 fixtures. It is the best fixture, but still it looks not that easy on paper for them.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree that this is probably their best fixture in 5 to 12. And I think at least it gives you the first 4 game weeks to analyze their team to see if there's any decent cheap assets in there who you might want to put in as enablers. As of now, I don't see anyone on Bournemouth you would want in your team, especially for game week 1. They have a horrible first 4 fixtures, which we'll get to. But as I said, at least you'll be able to see if there's any hidden gem there in their team who you might want to put in.
Right. No, it's good that you mentioned about the worst fixture, which is right in this slide as well. So, game week 1 to 4, Villa home, the first game. The only silver lining is it's a home game for them. Again, like we've always discussed that, if you were to kind of take points from any team, it has to be in the beginning of the season. Apart from Aston Villa, I don't see them getting any points from any other games, and hence there's no point looking at their assets in the first 4 game weeks, as you said. And this will give us a time, 5 game weeks, if we can start looking at those gems, for starters. Do you have any memory of Bournemouth's players from a couple of seasons back? So I think 3 seasons back.
Not really, but I know in the Championship they had like Solanke who scored a lot of goals. So I think he's potentially someone who you might want to think about.
And he might be their most expensive asset as well.
Probably. I'm certainly not considering them anytime soon. I think Bournemouth are going to really struggle unless they sign people.
Exactly. And they don't look to be linked with anybody right now, like Nottingham Forest and Fulham have been very active. It's going to be a tough one for them. Tough start. If it's going to be 0 points off from the first 12, there will be a lot of pressure on them to really perform well in the best fixture period from 5 to 12.
So I think it'd be very good for Bournemouth if they manage to get some points against Aston Villa, start off with a win, and then if they do lose the next 3 games, it's no big deal. They already have 3 points on the board. But if they start off with 4 losses, it's going to be tough on them. I think they could sneak a point against Arsenal potentially. I think if they get 6 points from, let's say, those first 6 games, they'd probably be happy.
I'm sure when a side gets promoted, they would love to show at least the home fans that yes, we are fighting, and they would have definitely a better performance at home as compared to the away performances. So if you look at the home games, so it's Wolves home, Brighton home, Brentford home, Leicester home, Southampton home. They have to go for these fixtures.
They need to beat the teams around them for sure.
Yeah. So all the best to Bournemouth, with all due respect. Fixtures are not really looking good. But yes, that's the case with any promoted side. Now we get to Fulham, who have been in and out of Premier League. So this is the best fixtures. So they have they have 3 ranges which we looked at, which look good for them. Which out of these 3, which do you really feel is the standout period for them?
Probably has to be the first one, just because there's more fixtures. You want to look at longer term. Right. So I think game week 8 to game week 14, there's some decent fixtures in there. And just like with Bournemouth, they don't have decent fixtures to start. So again, you can assess their assets, see who's performing, and then potentially, especially if you're wildcarding around game week 7, game week 8, here's a good chance to bring in a Fulham player if there's someone who looks good. I know a lot of people were thinking about Mitrovic to start off with. Yeah. I think that's kind of died down since the fixtures have been released. But if he starts banging them in, then I don't really know who else on Fulham. Maybe someone like Harry Wilson.
I think he's one. He could be one. Maybe Gallagher, that kind of a player. Because when he played in the Premier League 2 seasons back, Ward-Prowse Jr. kind of, right? Because he was pretty good at free kicks. So
yeah.
So I think these 2 look to be the assets where you can look at from the promoted sides. Obviously, they broke all the records last season in Championship, which has nothing to say that they're going to do the same in Premier League, because it's a different ballgame altogether.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it before. We've seen them destroy the Championship. They get promoted and they get relegated. It's down, up and down. So
yeah.
they need to make some kind of change this season.
Sorry, the manager himself, Marco Silva, if I'm not wrong,
Marco Silva.
has managed Everton, I think Hull, Wolves as well, right?
No,
No, sorry.
Watford.
Okay, sorry. Has been extremely aggressive in the last season, but yeah, he'll be interesting to see. 23 to 26. It does that period does have Nottingham Forest, so that's okay. But again, Brighton away and Brentford away, and with Wolves doesn't seem to be really a good set of fixtures. And obviously, as you said, it's just 4 fixtures.
I mean, you could argue that those 9 fixtures go together because there's only 2 games in between that.
Yeah.
So they could just be
true.
benchable games. You could say there's those 9 fixtures, a 1 run.
Yeah, actually, that fixture from 23 to 33, obviously removing 27, 28. And this is the time where a lot of free hits would be used, a lot of second wild cards would be used.
You're also getting into chip season around that time.
Yeah.
So it also depends on double game weeks and blank game weeks and things like that.
So I think I would expect Fulham. And then again, my gut feel is that they would survive the season, and I think they will not change the way they have played in Championship. So it's good to have an eye on. Obviously, Mitrovic would be the most owned Fulham player. But you never know of these 4.5 million goalkeeper. I have no idea about as of now, but you never know. Okay, let's look at the worst fixtures.
I mean, again, you got the first 7 horrible fixture. Like I said, a lot of people were looking at Mitrovic. They have him in game week 1. And Twitter has suddenly gone quiet about the Mitrovic talk.
Right.
I mean, he could score against Wolves again. I mean, he could score against anyone, really. But I think there's probably better value elsewhere now. The likes of Brentford have good fixtures. I don't think too many people are going to be looking at Fulham assets for at least 8 game weeks.
Yeah,
exactly. I think the Brentford game looks really good. I think it's hard to judge at this time if the Wolves and Brighton games are good. I don't like if Brighton lose the likes of Cucurella to Man City, maybe they won't be as good as they were.
They've lost Basuma anyway. So
Basuma as well, who knows what Brighton are going to show up, and who knows what Wolves are going to show up. So that could be 3 good fixtures.
15 to 22 is the next set of fixture. Where I think definitely it's again a no-go. Not even a single game where you can really point and say that yes, they can. Even if Crystal Palace is away.
Southampton home, maybe.
Southampton home, Southampton home is the only one. Fulham fixtures definitely. These are definitely to be avoided. Anyways, when we have to pick an asset from a promoted team, let's say from last year, Pukki, right? So people were picking Pukki when there were these sets of fixtures where they were, which was good for Norwich. So how are you going to play with the promoted side's assets?
Yeah, I think Pukki was priced really well, though. I think. I don't see Mitrovic being that cheap. I think I see them pricing him in the 7 range even. It's a lot harder to get Mitrovic in than it was Pukki.
Let's look at the team, which a lot of neutral fans are really looking forward to. Nottingham Forest. They've, I think, already made the first signing, or they're on the verge of making the first signing in Gene Henson, which is surprising. United are letting him go. The first Premier League season of 90 to 93 is the only Premier League season Nottingham Forest has played. They finished 22nd. That was the time they were 22 teams. Now this is the best fixture periods. Again, I think they are the only team where you can, the 6, 7, 8, 9 fixtures. If you look at the 6 to 8 fixtures, they look quite attractive for promoted side. This is the set I would definitely be looking at to get a Nottingham asset.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, these are all kind of similar because each of these teams have a not good start and then a decent run around the 5, 6, 7 time. Unfortunately, that means that you're going to struggle to find a decent enabler in these teams to start game week 1 with. And I'm not sure if you're going to want to bring in a Forest player at this point. I don't know. I'd be interesting to see how they price Dean Henderson. I think if he's 4.5, he might be a good option as a goalie. Though I think most people are looking at Raya from Brentford. If he's 4.5, I think he will be the highest owned goalkeeper.
What's your take on goalkeepers in terms of, do you want to have like a 5.5 goalkeeper and set and forget, or do you like to have 2 4.5 and rotate?
I usually go for a 4.5 and a 4.0. I like to spend my money in the rest of the team. So I'm hoping we have a decent starting 4.5 goalie. And looking at the fixtures, I think, like I said, Raya from Brentford is the standout, assuming they price him at 4.5.
I don't see any reason why Raya should be more than 4.5 because he missed quite a bit of a season as well.
Exactly. I think we
Yeah.
were lucky that he got, well, not lucky, that's the wrong word to use. I don't like injured
Yeah.
players, but he got injured
Right.
for most of the season. I think if he played the whole season, he would have had a price rise this year
Definitely.
because he looks very, very good.
And the moment he came back, I think Brentford, like Brighton, they finished the season pretty well.
Yeah.
And Raya's presence and his distribution really, really is key for them.
Yeah, they missed him a lot.
The next set of fixtures is game week 19 to 23. Leicester there again, but Southampton, Bournemouth, Leeds, Fulham. To be honest, this seems to be the standout period among as compared to the other two.
Yeah, all three of these teams have similar fixtures. The good runs and the bad runs happen very similar times. It's going to be tough to pick the right players from these teams, I think.
Yeah. Well, how did you end the season?
Terribly. So
yeah,
if the season ended at, let's say, game week 33, I'd have been in the top 20k. But then I had a terrible last 4 game weeks, and I ended up way down in 90k.
Oh, okay. Were you out of chips?
Yes, I'd use my chips because it was a weird season with COVID, and then we got given that extra free hit chip.
Yeah.
And I just kind of got excited and I used it. And I just didn't plan my chips properly last season. And then it was such a swingy season. So the likes of De Bruyne I didn't own when he hauled. I didn't own Son when he hauled. And really, that's it. If I just had Son in my team when he hauled, I'd have probably finished 25k.
And the last set of fixtures, which is obviously the shortest set of fixtures as well, is 32-35, which again is not really the easiest. They have Brighton, Brentford, and Southampton.
It's also the very end of the season. Who knows? They might even be relegated at this point. You have no idea.
So I would say 19 to 23 look the best set for them. Very excited to see Nottingham Forest players. There's a lot of passion amongst the fans. Mm-hmm. We have one big fan amongst the FPL community as well.
Yes, we do.
And it'll be interesting to see what Mark has to say about the team. I think he's going to be he is now the correspondent on Planet FPL Pod as well.
Yes, he is.
So that'll be interesting to see. Let's look at the worst fixture periods. Little different from the other two promoted teams. These are like long set of this is like long range, 10 to 18 and then 24 to 32. I don't think 24 after 32 you're going to really look at obviously depending on where they are in the table. You're not going to really look at these promoted teams assets depending on where you are in the ranking as well. But yeah, these are long fixtures, 10 to 18.
And unless they have a player who really stands out those first 9 game weeks, who surprises people, which is definitely possible, then I think they're on a void for this whole period. But if they get a player who's a good budget player who gets consistent points, I think people are going to need a budget player on their team. So why not?
We might find another Dennis.
Maybe another red card player. With the amount of premium assets that are going to be this season, the amount of good players we're going to need, we're absolutely going to need 2 or 3 spots for cheaper players. And these are the kind of teams we're going to be looking at. So regardless of fixtures, I think we need to keep an eye on these teams and pick the standout players.
You're more of an eye test or a stat guy?
I started off completely eye test, and then each season I move more and more to data. So I think I'm primarily eye test, but I now back up my eye test more and more with data. I find it fascinating, but I'm a football fan first. I love watching every single game. So I go based on my own opinion, and then I back it up. If I'm have a 50-50 decision, I might look at stats to sway my decision, but I'm primarily an eye test, I would say.
Yeah, it's very similar. I do the same because being in Singapore, it's the TV scheduling is a little odd. So I do watch 2 games on Saturdays, 2 on Sunday. If it's ever a 50-50, I'll definitely go with stats.
I mostly play FPL for fun. I enjoy it. I love football. I love picking players based on my own opinion, taking risks. But I will look at stats to back up my opinion for sure.
Last question on these promoted teams. Do you see how many of these 3 do you see surviving?
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I wouldn't be surprised if all 3 of them go back down.
Yeah.
I think definitely one of them is going. Most likely 2, and unless they surprise people, I wouldn't be surprised if they go down. Do you see them surviving?
I think Fulham might just survive.
You do? Okay.
It would be really, and it's a couple of factors. The way they performed, as in the style of play. Marco Silva, I've seen him as an FPL as a Premier League manager as well. So I think they might just survive. They have quality now. But Bournemouth, I definitely think is going down. There might be a Leeds amongst these three, so nobody wants to see. We want just to see more of Leeds players coming, team coming in. All right, Dan, this was amazing. Great chat. Hope these promoted sides really give us something to cheer about. Hope there's enough fight within them. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And we shall interact more during the season, especially on Wolves. If you have the time.
Absolutely.
And then we'll take it from there. All right. Cheers, buddy. Thank you very much.
Thank you.